First and foremost, dogs don't feed themselves. They don't go to the fridge or the supermarket. What and how much they eat is entirely down to us, their guardians. So in many ways, obesity in dogs is a human-created problem, which begs the question, is giving them an implant to suppress their appetite solving the problem or avoiding it? Welcome to The Consult Room, the podcast where we explore the evolving world of modern pet care. I'm Dr Paul Manktelow, a UK veterinary surgeon with a deep passion for pet health and welfare. In each episode, I'll be exploring key issues, challenging perspectives, and offering expert insight and practical advice. Because ultimately, my mission is to improve the lives of pets and the people who love them. Today, we're diving into a story that's been making headlines recently, the idea of an Ozempic for dogs. Now, for anyone who hasn't heard, researchers are trialling a slow-release implant that works in a very similar way to the weight loss drugs making waves in human medicine, like Ozempic and Wegovy. The idea is that it suppresses appetite and it helps overweight dogs to lose weight. Now, at first glance, this sounds like a potential breakthrough. After all, obesity is one of the biggest welfare problems we face in veterinary medicine. But as with so many things in pet care, the reality is more complicated. And this development raises some really important questions about responsibility, ethics, and what's best for our dogs. So in this episode, I'm going to explore the scale of the obesity problem, the science behind this new implant, the potential benefits, and the concerns that we really need to talk about. So let's start with the problem itself. In the UK today, around half of all dogs are overweight or obese. Now, that's a staggering statistic. And it hasn't shifted much in decades, certainly as long as I've been a vet, despite all the advice, awareness campaigns, and the special diets available. The consequences are huge. Obese dogs live shorter lives. They're more likely to develop arthritis, diabetes, respiratory disease, even certain cancers. Their quality of life is reduced, and in many cases, they can't enjoy the normal activities that dogs should, like running, playing, or just simply getting around comfortably. Now, you might think owners would spot the signs quickly, but research shows most people don't. Many guardians underestimate their dog's body condition. They see their dog as about right, when vets would class them as overweight. And part of the challenge is cultural. Sharing treats, giving leftovers, and rewarding begging behaviors. It all becomes wrapped up in the way we show love. A treat for me, a treat for you. So despite knowing the advice, control portions, reduce treats, increase exercise, the problem hasn't gone away. Now, this is why researchers are now looking at medical options. So how does this new implant work? Now, in human medicine, drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy belong to a class called GLP-1 receptor agonists. Now, they mimic a hormone called GLP-1, which regulates blood sugar, but also has powerful effects on appetite. Now, these drugs slow down the rate at which the stomach empties and make people feel fuller for longer, which reduces how much they want to eat. The veterinary version being trialled is called OKV119. It's a small implant that sits under the skin and slowly releases a GLP-1 analog over time. But the goal is the same: reduce hunger and curb food-seeking behaviors and support sustainable weight loss. Now, GLP-1 isn't just a drug. It's actually a naturally occurring hormone in the body. And in a previous episode on The Consult Room, I explored how increasing dietary fiber can stimulate GLP-1 release in a safe, natural way. Which raises an important question. As our knowledge and research into these more natural approaches grows, should we be putting more emphasis there rather than jumping straight to pharmaceutical solutions? The trials are still ongoing, but early reports suggest this implant could be available towards the end of this decade if approved. And for certain dogs, this could be a real game changer. Now, think of breeds like Labradors, which are genetically predisposed to weight gain, or dogs that seem constantly hungry no matter how carefully you feed them. Now, for guardians who've tried diet and exercise plans without success, this could offer a new tool. But of course, there are ethical questions, and big ones. First and foremost, dogs don't feed themselves. They don't go to the fridge or the supermarket. What and how much they eat is entirely down to us, their guardians. So in many ways, obesity in dogs is a human-created problem, Which begs the question, is giving them an implant to suppress their appetite solving the problem or avoiding it? There's also the concern that focusing on medical fixes could shift responsibility. Instead of tackling the root causes like overfeeding, lack of exercise, or cultural attitudes around food, are we just looking for a shortcut? And if so, what message does that send about how we care for our pets? And then there's the lifestyle question. If weight management becomes something we outsource to an implant, do we risk moving further away from what we'd consider a healthy lifestyle for a dog? Exercise, for example, is not just about burning calories. Under UK law, it's part of their welfare needs. Dogs have a legal right to express natural behaviors like running, playing, and exploring. And exercise also provides huge mental health benefits, enrichment, stimulation, which can in turn reduce anxiety. So if we start relying on drugs to manage weight, do we risk downplaying or even neglecting those essential aspects of welfare? Now, there's another layer to this, a conversation that's important from a veterinary perspective, and that's how we interpret appetite. Now, loss of appetite is often the very first sign that something is wrong with a dog's health. It can point to infections, metabolic problems, organ disease, even cancers. Now, as vets, it's one of the earliest red flags we look out for. So here's the concern. If we start suppressing appetite artificially in otherwise healthy but overweight dogs, could that mask the signs of illness? Could we miss those early warning signs because we assume the reduced appetite is just the implant doing its job? That's a very real clinical worry. It means if these implants do come to market, there will need to be strict monitoring, ongoing veterinary oversight, and clear guidelines to avoid creating new risks while trying to solve another. So where does this leave us? On one hand, a dog version of Ozempic could be a breakthrough, helping to manage obesity in dogs that simply haven't responded to traditional methods. It could improve welfare, extend lives, and reduce the burden of obesity-related disease. But on the other hand, it raises questions about ethics, responsibility, and how we view the human-dog relationship. Obesity is still at its core a problem of how we feed and exercise our pets, and no implant can change that. The most balanced way to think about it might be this. If approved, a GLP-1 implant could be a tool, but it shouldn't be the only tool. Education, exercise, portion control, and cultural change around feeding still need to be front and center. So, an Ozempic for dogs, is it the future of weight management? Or is it an ethical dilemma? What's clear is that pet obesity is one of the biggest welfare challenges we face today. This implant might one day help us tackle it. But the way we love, feed, and care for our dogs will always matter more than any drug or device. Thank you for listening to this episode. You'll find all the relevant links to this conversation in the show notes. If you enjoyed it, please follow us and leave